We saw in the distance a great smoke and found the skeleton of a horse, so we knew the Indians were in the neighborhood. On the next morning, 21st, tracks of a party of horse and marks left by the trailing of the chuzos were observed on the ground. It was generally thought that they must have reconnoitered us during the night. Shortly afterwards, we came to a spot where from the fresh footsteps of men, children, and horses, it was evident that the party had crossed the river. April 29th. From some high land we hailed with joy the white summits of the Cordillera. As they were seen occasionally peeping through their dusky envelope of clouds, during the few succeeding days we continued to get on slowly, for we found the river course very tortuous, and strewed with immense fragments of various ancient slaty rocks and of granite. The plain bordering the valley had here attained an elevation of about 1,100 feet, and its character was much altered. The well-rounded pebbles of porphyry were in this part mingled with many immense angular fragments of basalt and of the rocks above mentioned. The first of these erratic blocks, which I noticed, was 67 miles distant from the nearest mountain. Another, which had been transported to rather a less distance, measured 5 yards square and projected 5 feet above the gravel. Its edges were so angular and its size so great that I at first mistook it for a rock in situ, and took out my compass to observe the direction of its cleavage. The plains here were not quite so level as those nearer the coast, but yet they betrayed little signs of any violent action. Under these circumstances, it would be difficult, as it appears to me, to explain this phenomenon on any theory, excepting through that of transport by ice while the country was under water. But this is subject to which I shall again recur. During the 2 last days we met with signs of horses, and with several smart articles which had belonged to the Indians, such as parts of a mantle and a bunch of ostrich feathers, but they had appeared to have been lying long on the ground. Between the place where the Indians had so lately crossed the river and this neighborhood, though so many miles apart, the country appears to be quite unfrequented. At first, considering the abundance of the guanacos, I was surprised at this, but it is explained of the stony nature of the plants, which would soon disable an unshod horse from taking part in the chase. Nevertheless, in 2 places in this very central region, I found small heaps of stone which I do not think could have been accidentally thrown together. They were placed on points projecting over the edge of the highest lava cliff, and they resembled, but on a small scale, those near Port Desire. May 4th. Captain Fitzroy determined to take the boats no higher. The river had a winding course and was very rapid, and the appearance of the country offered no temptation to proceed any further. Everywhere we met with the same productions, and the same dreary landscape. We were now 140 miles distant from the Atlantic, about 60 from the nearest arm of the Pacific. The valley in this upper part expanded into a wide basin, bounded on the north and south by the basaltic platforms, and fronted by the long range of the snow-clad Cordillera. But we viewed these grand mountains with regret, for we were obliged to imagine their form and nature, instead of standing as we had hoped on their crest, and looking down on the plain below. Besides the useless loss of time which an attempt to ascend any higher would have cost us, we had already been for some days on half allowance of bread. This, although really enough for any reasonable man, was after our hard day's march rather scanty food. Let those alone who had never tried it exclaim about the comfort of a light stomach and an easy digestion. 5th. Before sunrise, we commenced our descent. We shot down the stream with great rapidity, generally at the rate of 10 knots an hour. In this one day we effected what had cost us 5.5 hard days' labor in ascending. On the 8th we reached the Beagle after our 21 days' expedition. Everyone excepting myself had cause to be dissatisfied. but to me the ascent afforded a most interesting section of the Great Tertiary Formation of Patagonia.